So how does a person end up writing basically an erotic cookbook? I am a rape survivor, and I kept that hidden for most of my life. I was raped by my neighbor when I was 8 years old. And from that point on, two things I knew about the world. Number one, the world was dangerous. Number two, I didn't think I could trust anybody. And because I couldn't trust anybody, I made my own little world, and I stayed within that world. And food became my drug of choice, and it became my best friend, and it became my protector. I consciously put on weight so I wouldn't be attracted to anybody. And I turned to food to be my comforter when those days came when I felt very, very empty. When I became a teenager, I decided I was going to dedicate my life to serving other people because for me, I didn't think there was a future for me in a happy world, so I would help other people be happy. And that was my vocation in life until I turned around 21. When I was 21 years old, my rapist came to the house to see my mother. I hadn't seen him in years. And on that day, my mother saw a face on me that she had never seen before. And my mother did not know what was going on with me. The hairs on my arm started raising on the back of my neck. And she asked me what was wrong. And I had to tell her because there was no other explanation I could give her that could equal what was happening to me physically. So I told her what was going on. And that day, I knew I needed counseling. I didn't know what counseling was going to do for me, but I knew I had to talk it out because I didn't feel I wanted to expose my mother to what had happened to me because I thought that would be very painful for her. Because as a parent, you feel that you should be always protecting your child. And when something bad happens to your child, no matter it's not your fault, you feel that there should have been something you should have done or you could have done. So after speaking to my mother, I went and got counseling. And that was an interesting experience because they don't tell you in counseling that you're going to relive everything you've been through. You've got to talk about it, which means you're going to have to dig deep. And it was so funny because my therapist was very, very in tune to what I was trying to do. At first she had diagnosed me as being manic because every time I came to her office, I had many things to talk about, and it had nothing to do with me. It was business, it was school, it was all these other programs I was doing. And I would talk about it very rapidly, because I couldn't sit and talk about something that was so harmful for me. And when I did start talking about it, I started by saying first I was molested. That was easy. That was easier for me to say than being raped. And to kind of take myself out of facing myself, I went out and did what any self-respecting woman would do in my circumstances. I went out and got a boyfriend who had more problems than I did. And he was perfect. And he was, because I didn't have to concentrate on me. All I had to do was talk about him and his problems. And I won't say I was happy, but I was satisfied with not having to deal with myself. I would go to counseling, talk about what happened, but go and be with a man who had a lot of issues. And we were together on and off for about 4 or 5 years, and we broke up, and it was a good thing. But it was a choice that I made to get involved in a very unhealthy relationship because I was too afraid to deal with myself. And many times we think of being superwoman, trying to do it all because we want to save the world. And in retrospect, I wasn't trying to do it all to save the world. I was doing it all because I was too afraid to sit with myself. So after the breakup, I figured, I don't need a boyfriend. I can do this life thing by myself. And I chose to be alone for a very long time. And it was the instance of my grandfather passing away. And I was the only one in the room with him when he died. And he didn't die alone. But I figured I would be dying alone if I didn't figure out how to break out of the mental bondage of feeling that I had nothing to give to the world because I was already damaged. I felt I was damaged and I had nothing to give. So I had to figure out how to make things right and negotiate my own life with myself without any concessions on my part. Not giving into what people think I should be doing, not basically going by someone else's plan, doing my own thing. And one day I was talking to my mother and I said, hey, you know, I want to move on from this. I just don't know how. I don't know anybody who I could talk to about normal sexual relationships and normal relationships with food. I just didn't. I said, you know, I'd make her up if I could. Ding, 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 ding. I made up Carlisle Fletcher. Carlisle Fletcher is basically a woman who is very, very in control of her sexuality and is very, very happy with life and takes life as it comes and is not afraid to go after what she wants, has her own hang-ups, but deals with them, and has a very, very amazing and healthy relationship with food. We all love food. Food is what we have to do. We have to eat. But for many of us, food is the thing that we turn to when there's a lot of problems in our lives. So when I started writing the book, it's very interesting the things that started happening. It was like going, has everyone seen The Wizard of Oz? Where she opens the door, she's in black and white and the world is in Technicolor. So that's what was some of the things that were happening to me. I did not realize how far removed from my senses, the five senses, hearing, seeing, smelling. I was on autopilot. I would basically just eat to survive and gain weight if I felt like I was uncomfortable. I would go to places that were pleasurable to be around, like a museum, and not really be moved by color, not really be moved by music. I could experience something, but I would not experience it. So when I started writing the book, I went to the farmer's market and I almost passed out from overstimulation from the color and sound and smell. All of a sudden, I could see the color of peaches. I could smell them. And I was thinking, I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. I've been alive all my life, and I'm just now realizing what life could be if I connected with my senses. But what had happened was, sex is, there actually, in the book, there's only two instances when you're using all five of your senses. Eating and sex. Those are the only two when all senses are engaged. So for me, I was basically using food to fill those kind of senses and cutting off from everything else. But I really wasn't feeling everything, but that was my satisfaction. So when I wrote the book, I basically was trying to give myself back to myself. How do you basically reclaim your life when someone has tried to take power from you? So the Delicious Adventures of Carlisle Fletcher is basically my own revenge on those or that person who has tried to hurt me. You give power to people when you give in. And when you sit with your own pain and you stay there with it and don't have a plan to move on. And this was my way of moving on. So you have to ask yourself, what is the thing that you want to do most that scares you senseless, but you want to do anyway? And my last thing to say is that's what you do. That's what you do. Thank you all for coming, and I will sign all of your books.